All right. Well, thank you, Mary, and welcome everybody. We love doing these lunchtime panel discussions, and we choose lunchtime because it's a perfect time for a break. And we are breakout leaders, and our mission is to equip leaders with whatever they need to find balance between professional success and also personal fulfillment so that they can create through their leadership really successful workplaces where everyone can thrive. And we always have a guest, as you know, if you've been here before. And today, our guest is Katie O'Malley. She's a coach like us and works with a lot of people who are leaders and trying to bring their best selves to work. So, welcome, Katie. If you would just give us an introduction of who you
Absolutely.
are.
Amy, Mary, thank you so much for having me on your panel. I'm delighted to be able to connect with your audiences here and on LinkedIn and other platforms. My name is Katie O'Malley. I am the founder and principal coach of Encourage Coaching. We were founded in 2018, really on a mission to restore joy and justice in the workplace for more employees, and truly believing the best way to do that is elevating more women, people of color, LGBTQ folks into the rooms where decisions are being made. Because until we're represented at the top, it's really difficult to get our needs and perennial challenges that we meet every day really taken care of and solutions being sought after.
Yeah.
I'm trained and educated as a therapist. My master's degree is in counseling. Really wanted to help people at the intersection of mental health and work. But it turns out insurance companies are not keen to cover therapy sessions about work because work is not a mental health diagnosis,
Uh-huh.
even though work tends to lead to burnout, and the symptoms of
Yeah.
burnout are identical to
Mhm.
depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress. So that's how I'm here in front of you all today, and I can't wait to see where our conversation takes us.
Yeah, and I love the way you describe what you do, that intersection between work and mental health. It really aligns with what Breakout Leaders does.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get back to you with a question, but I just would love for you to introduce yourself briefly, Mary, and then I'll do the same.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Katie, with so much enthusiasm. And Amy and I both resonate very much with the work that you do and bringing all identities into that. At Remax Consulting, I'm the founder and CEO of Remax Consulting. Equity is at the center and the core of everything that I do.
Mhm.
And so my company focuses on optimizing organizations and leaders so that they can maximize their potential and achieve their dreams. And then Amy and I collaborate together with Breakout Leaders. And she gave a brief introduction of that. So excited to be here to have this conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. And Mary and I created this initiative out of a mutual passion for exactly what Katie just described. We really like this idea of intersecting work and also being at your best, being mentally healthy, physically healthy, healthy in every way. And I'm a psychologist, and that's really what I love to do. I love helping people to grow and change in alignment with their own version of success. So let's start with a question. Today we're talking about how to keep moving forward and how to sustain your momentum on particularly difficult days. So I want to point out that, yeah, every day when you're a leader is challenging. We're under a lot of stress in our world all the time and at work, but there are some days that are harder than others. And I want to just call out lately, it's been difficult for a lot of people because of a lot of things happening in the government that's affecting a lot of us. And I'll give you an example. Mary just started doing complimentary coaching with professionals. Many of them are leaders who have been impacted by the government cuts and job reductions. And Mary and I talk a lot about how many of our clients, they arrive at appointments upset, not just because their jobs are literally impacted, just because they're upset about certain things going on in government that they've been thinking about. So this is an example of how work can escalate in terms of stress because something extra is laid on us. So I'm wondering, Katie, have you seen what Mary and I are talking about, not just with clients, but also with colleagues, with your community in Chicago, with friends, family members? And how are you addressing that? And for yourself too.
Yeah.
Um,
So the answer is yes,
yes.
emphatically across the board, yes,
Mhm.
plus one, 150% agree, Mary, with what you've experienced. And I want to applaud you for offering that support to our federal and government workers who have really dedicated their lives to civil service and now seem to be persona non grata within those organizations. So thank you so much. I did something similar at the start of the pandemic when we were seeing those cuts. Gosh, for me, what I've been seeing a lot of is an uptick in folks really looking for career coaching. And I do have a couple of clients that are or were federal employees, and I think the thing for me and what I'm seeing that is scary, and I don't want to be inciting extra fear or worry in folks, but just telling the truth, which is we've been in a frozen labor market since the summer. So while 51% of American employees are currently looking for new jobs, no one is actually making the move into a new role out of fear of being the last one in and the first one out.
Oh,
With that, employers really are not adding new jobs, especially new white collar jobs, because of things like at first it was the election. Are we going to have a peaceful transition of power? AI. Now, as you're saying, just I heard someone describe what's happening in the government as using that analogy of sticks and carrots, right? Like, here, come for this carrot, or we'll hit you with a stick. And now it's just randomly like hitting different things with sticks and nobody knows what's going on, elevating everybody's stress response because
yeah.
it's so unpredictable.
Mhm.
But on top of that frozen market that we've been experiencing since the summer, what we're also now experiencing is a flood on top of that with the firing of so many federal employees and civil servants. And so when I talk to the clients that I'm working with or who are thinking about working with a coach, they're like, maybe I should just wait until I know, like, if there's going to be a reduction in force, if they're going to force me back into the office, I'll just wait to see if those things happen. And sales can make me feel icky, but the delivery of information and research makes me
Mhm.
feel good. And so what I'll share with them is this is kind of like drinking water. If you wait to drink water until the moment you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated, right? It's the same
Yeah.
thing here. We want you to be well prepared to hit the ground running ahead of the quote competition
Mhm.
in the field should this happen to you, because the research shows the average person has their career disrupted 7 different times over the course of their
Mhm.
professional life. And so you can either be the one that disrupts your career yourself, or you can wait to have it disrupted for you. But either way, I think one of the things that can really help to reduce the stress and the anxiety of all of this is to be prepared and
Yeah.
to control your controllables and the things that you can take action on. Mary or Amy, I'm sure you would agree. And when it comes to anxiety, action
Yeah.
is always the best antidote. And
Absolutely.
so, helping clients feel proud of their collateral materials, resume and cover letter, helping them feel a sense of clarity. So, if and when this does happen to them, they know the path that they are going to walk. And
Mhm.
then having confidence to do that are the 3 key areas that
Yes.
we've been working on. But also just reminding folks, let's let's focus on the things that we can control for ourselves,
Right.
around our own health, well-being, community, those
Mhm.
connections. There are lots of things that we can be doing that I don't think society has valued for some time, and reminding folks it's okay to invest time in these things.
Yes, and I really like what you said about let's not wait until you're dehydrated to start drinking
Right.
water. And I mean that literally and figuratively, because what I often deal with, and I'm sure you do too, and I know Mary does with coaching clients, is, well, everything's fine now. I don't really need coaching, or I don't need to be taking care of myself because it's just a regular day. And the idea here is, right now we're talking about extra stressful days, and the only
Mhm.
way that you can really get through, have momentum during a really demanding day where you feel like you're really against a wall is if you're doing things to take care of yourself every day.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
taking breaks every 90 minutes is a big one. And I'll say it again, drinking water throughout the
Yep.
day, treating your body well, treating your mind well, so that when you need that extra stamina, you've got it. You're not depleted.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So Mary, what about you? Tell us more about what you're seeing. I'd love to hear what you're seeing with these clients you're coaching too, who have lost jobs.
Yeah, I would say that I agree with what's already been shared between the two of you. But a trend that I'd like to talk a little bit more, maybe we can go deeper on, is when we have to hold hard emotions at the same time that may be competing or conflicting with each other. And so
Yes.
I'll give an example. I was just in Chapel Hill, driving down this morning and was feeling really excited about having this conversation with the two of you, as well as everybody in the audience. But I started to hit some traffic. I was worried about being behind. So I started to feel overwhelmed, stressed, and anxious. So I have happy, joy, excitement, and I'm also managing feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and anxious. Right. And I think that as human beings, we get socially conditioned to only recognize and honor like certain type of emotions. We don't necessarily get taught how to hold and compartmentalize emotions that may compete with each other. That you can actually feel excited and overwhelmed, scared and joyous, all at
Yeah.
the same time. So, what I would like to hear from you, Katie, is like, what are your go-to tips when maybe you're feeling those conflicting emotions, um,
Mhm.
and you're not quite sure how to process through them. So as a result, you get stuck and you're not quite sure how to move forward. So maybe we can dig in deeper on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so true. It's dialectical, right? So two things can be true at the same time. Just because I open one door doesn't mean I have to
Mhm.
close another. And I really agree with you, Mary, especially as women, we are taught anger is bad. We shouldn't experience it when the truth is anger is telling us that we deserve to be treated better. We've been disrespected. One of our core values is kind of hanging in the balance over a choice we have to make or has been thrust upon us. And so we have to honor all of the emotions, right? I think it's Brene Brown who talks about we can't just let in joy without letting in fear and fear and disgust and anxiety and all of it, because then the joy will never be as bright. There's nothing to compare it against. And
Mm.
so letting it all in, and if we don't allow ourselves to experience it, this is where we start to fall into mental health crises, right? Because it's building and it's building and it's building and it doesn't get processed and it doesn't go anywhere. For me, in those moments, which I have had plenty of in the last 18 months, I was working on merging my business with another woman owned business. At the same time, I was going through a very contentious divorce, trying to sell my house, trying to keep my business running. Every day felt overwhelming for a really long time. And there were moments where I could just picture myself. I'm like, ooh, the place I want to be right now is in the corner with my knees to my chest in a ball. And I'm like, that doesn't solve anything, right? What that's telling me is I need to attend to an emotion that I'm having, not go sit in the corner and bring my knees to my chest and curl up into a ball. And so for me, the first thing is always recognizing and saying out loud, I'm not my anxiety, right? I am experiencing anxiety. It's not, I am angry. It's, I have anger. And I know it sounds really silly linguistically to differentiate between those two things, but the way that our brain hears it and the different type of neural pathway that gets created from the anger is part of my identity to the anger is something I'm experiencing or the overwhelm is something I'm experiencing really allows us, one, to not chip away at our own sense of self worth and value and confidence, but also allows us to say, oh, I'm experiencing this, which means I can change that or
Yeah.
attend to it or heal it instead of saying, I'm wrong, I'm bad. This is part of me. So that's the main part of my toolkit.
Yes.
But the hard part is catching that that is what is happening to
Yes.
you. And so looking for those signals in your body, for me, whenever my heart starts to pound and it's not racing, right? But I think about the Looney Tunes characters when they fall in love, like Pepe Le Pew, and you see his heart just
Oh,
kind of
yes.
going like this. When my heart starts to do that, that's the moment. What am I experiencing that needs my attention right now?
I love part of what you just said around labeling the emotion that you're experiencing it, giving it life, not trying to suppress it.
Mhm.
Because it's when we recognize and we honor those emotions that it starts to give us the ability to pass through them and to start about thinking about those immediate small steps that are within our control that we can then take in this moment. I have not watched this movie yet, but I want to. But I keep on hearing about Inside Out 1 and
Yes.
2,
Too.
One
where
and
yeah,
two.
Yeah.
where they have characters, that are emotions. And so starting to teach children about feelings, the ability to express them, how they show up, in different situations. And I was having a coaching conversation with someone recently, and she started crying. And, our response is to immediately apologize when we express hard emotions. And one of the things that I say immediately is crying means that you're giving yourself permission and you're honoring the fact that you're feeling your life. And if you don't allow yourself to feel your life, how is it that you're going to be able to get to the other side of it? So starting to normalize it. And so that's one of the reasons why I love that movie so much is that we're normalizing those feelings and those emotions for our children so that they have a better ability to verbalize and move through them when they get into the workforce.
Yeah. And Mary, I would say it's not just for children. I know growing up, we had no social and emotional learning in my schools in the 80s and early 90s. It's for adults too. The number of clients I've recommended watching this movie to say, if you think this is just for kids, I think you're going to walk away with some lightning bolt aha moments. And it's so true. Once we have the language, like you said, to label something, to describe it, we're able to take back control. And I'm a big fan of crying. um, and it's not always from sadness, right? It can be from anger, frustration, overwhelm. I'll always tell folks crying is what we do with emotion that literally has nowhere else to go because we're all stored up in our body. It has to come out somewhere.
Right.
Um, and it is a great alternative to
Yeah.
how some other folks might express that overwhelm.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that you said is how do I flip the switch on the mental message that I'm saying to myself right now that may result in me feeling stuck or staying stuck? So it was a really great example around the anger. And that's one of the things that Amy and I talk a lot about is what are you believing in the moment? And then how is that driving your thoughts, feelings, and actions?
Mhm.
And if I believe I'm an angry person versus I believe I'm feeling anger and this is why I'm feeling anger, it's going to drive a whole different mental map that then puts you in a better position to take action. But Amy, I know you wanted to jump into our next
Yeah, sure. So
question. I would also invite our audience at any point to put any comments in the chat.
Yeah, so I think what you both said is great, and what I'm taking from it is certainly what I try to reinforce all the time with myself and my clients, that it's important to get distance from our feelings and thoughts, and not, we can't control them, but they can control us if we don't
Yes.
get that distance and identify what's happening and asking ourselves, how do I want to respond to this? But when it comes to particularly tough days that are harder than the rest of our challenging days, what do we do when everything is all over the place? For example, when the news is changing constantly and you're feeling like you have to always be paying attention, or something might happen that you're going to miss that's really important, or when your emotions are going all over the place from that, and your thoughts too. Or what if you're going through a transition? What the thing about transitions, they're really hard because your emotions are all over the place there too. So I have clients who will come to me and they'll say something like, I'm really doing well getting through my breakup. I'm feeling really positive. And the next week they'll be crying, saying, I'm really sad. I really miss the good times with my partner. And what's wrong with me? I thought I was making progress. Because progress can be a couple steps forward, a couple steps back. That's just how humans develop. It's not linear. And so I'm able as a coach to see from that distance, in my perspective, you are progressing because you're meeting yourself where you are and you're working through the emotions. And eventually you're going to have more and more good moments, and you're going to look back and say, you know what? I'm over my breakup, or I'm over my job loss, or whatever it happens to be. But when you're in it, of course, that's the hard time. So I'd love to hear some tips from you, Katie, and also Marianne. What do you do when you're really under the gun? You're really stressed and you're just trying to get through a hard day. You may be working on a deadline and you don't have a lot of time to just sit and be with your emotions.
Mhm, mhm. Mary, do you want me to?
Yeah, go right ahead. Jump right in. That'd be great, Katie.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much here, and I think one of the practices that I lean into on those extra hard days, of which I think in the last month or so, 6 weeks, we've all had a lot of, right? Because we have essentially three the three tiers of community. It's our personal life, our professional life, and then what's happening in our immediate community, but then where we're citizens, right? We're citizens and all a part of this country. So to be completely unaffected by what's going on, there's also an issue there. If you're unwilling, if you have to look away all the time. I think one of the best antidotes to this is one, self compassion. So, in those moments when it's really hard, there are tight deadlines, there's only 24 hours in a day. I get 24 hours, you get 24 hours, Beyonce gets 24 hours, that's it.
Yes.
We're all on a level playing field there. Recognizing just the limitations of what it means to be human, what it means to be a human right now. And instead of judging yourself for what you didn't do, accepting this is the capacity that I have today. I read somewhere, and this was really, really helpful for me, and it has been for clients. When you have 80% to give on any given day, and you give that 80%, you've actually given 100% of your energy and effort,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
so every day, recognizing what's in the tank, I am going to give that. And if I can exceed it, it's a win. If I can't, I've done everything that I can do.
Mhm.
And so Dr. Kristen Neff out of University of Texas at Austin, where I used to work, kind of the mother of self-compassion research. The website is self-compassion.org. She actually interviews leaders to talk about what it means to be compassionate towards yourself. We're always taught to be compassionate towards others, but the level of compassion that we give ourselves is actually we can't give more than that to others if we're unwilling to give it to ourselves too. So that's the first thing. And then also recognizing what my physical body needs. I am someone who loves to move. I hop on the Peloton or take a class, usually 5 days a week. If you ever want to do a ride with me, I'm Courageous Kate on the leaderboard. But there are days where my body just says no. What you need to do is sit under a weighted blanket for 30 minutes instead of, elevate your heart rate and your nervous system. And so, really starting to get more in tune with your body can be really, really helpful as well. Because I think it's Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah.
And he's famous for saying the body has answers to questions that our brain doesn't even know to ask
Yes.
yet. And so when you don't know what to do, check in with your body will know.
Yes.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great tips. Thank you, Katie. For me, Amy, knowing that we are operating in a world that is probably the most amount of destruction. I mean, well, some destruction, yes, but I meant to say distraction, and disruption. What I do is I create a container for myself. And so I understand what my goals and my priorities are for the year where I want to focus. And then I break those down. So I break it down by quarter, I'll break it down by week, I'll break it down by day. Because research says that when a distraction comes in, it can take us almost up to 23 minutes to get back in the place we were as far as our cognitive ability is concerned before that distraction came in. And I don't know about all of you, but I don't have 23 minutes to lose because I've let something else get my attention. So that's what I do, Amy. I say, I'm having this experience. How does it fit into my priorities and my goals? Do I need to pivot and have some agility because now something's happened that has become more of a priority for me? If not, then I put little blinders on and I give myself permission to ignore that for right now.
Yeah.
I may go back to it, but in the moment, it's not as important as the thing that I'm currently focusing on and I'm trying to achieve. I also agree with Katie around the physical movement piece. I have some walking partners here on the call and others that are very deeply committed to walking. And walking is good for me because it gets my body moving. But when I connect with people that I love and I care about during that period of time, I also get my social needs met, and I feel a greater connection to myself and others. So just a couple other things that I would add on. Believe it or not, we are almost at our 30 minutes. That time just zipped by quickly. And so I want to say thank you to everyone who joined us, but I also want to take a minute and do a preview for our next session. We have Karen Bradbury here with us. She heads up talent management at Unum, a Fortune 500 company who cares deeply about leadership and is often recognized for the commitment that they're making to their leaders as well as the community around us. And Karen is going to be speaking about strengths and how do you step even more into your strengths to optimize your performance and your impact. So, Karen, it's great to see you here. We look forward to chatting with you next month. And Amy, I don't know if you have any closing comments that you want to add before we go.
We talked about two different things here, and I just want to clarify. We've talked a lot today about the importance of acknowledging emotions, stopping, getting distance. But there are those days when you really don't have time. You have to meet a deadline. And like you were saying, Mary, you might get distracted and you have to ignore that. So I just want to distinguish between two things. One is, yes, we want to acknowledge our emotions. We don't want to repress them because that creates more problems. They're not going to go away. They'll try to get our attention in other ways till we deal with them. But then there's another way of handling emotions when you can't deal with them in the moment. You suppress them, which is different. That's when you say, okay, I can't deal with this anger. Maybe you get a call from home saying your kid got in trouble at school. You're really worried, but you say, this isn't an emergency. I'm going to deal with it when I get home. And so that's what I do to cope. Like right now, I have a really busy couple of days that I'm in the midst of, but I'm leaving Friday to go on vacation in Charleston. So I'm thinking about Charleston, South Carolina, and the sun and the great food. And that's my time that I will have after these couple of days to really enjoy life. So sometimes that can work too. As long as you're eventually giving yourself an outlet and you're not continually avoiding that, you're going to be fine.
Great. Thanks, Amy. Well, Katie, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for everyone who joined us. And we'll see you next month when we talk about strengths and happiness and performance. Have a great day.
Yeah.